Learning through asynchronous discussion. Welcome to this video on learning through asynchronous discussion. This is one of two videos on learning through discussion. The other video focuses on learning through synchronous discussion. What you learn here will help you prepare for asynchronous online discussions. This video will address the why of asynchronous discussion, identify strategies for promoting learning through asynchronous discussion, and familiarize you with the CourseWorks Discussion Tool. Why asynchronous discussion? Whether you teach a small class, a large class, a fully online course, a hybrid or high-flex course, or students across time zones, asynchronous discussion offers a number of benefits for both you and your students. Asynchronous discussion helps create community among students through informal or formal discussion, creates an opportunity for all students to engage, offers students time to think, producing responses with more depth, helps you check student understanding, and creates space to expand on or continue synchronous discussions. However, without proper planning, discussions may lack the desired level of student engagement, lack instructor presence, include only superficial contributions and produce uneven quality in posts, or flow in one direction, with responses going to the instructor instead of students responding to each other. To avoid these issues and ensure that students learn through discussion in your course, plan with the following 6 steps in mind. Promoting learning through asynchronous discussion. Like any course activity or lecture, asynchronous discussion requires some initial planning on the part of the instructor. To help promote learning ahead of the actual discussion, you will want to articulate the goals and purpose of the discussion, communicate your expectations, set the tone for the discussion, determine your role, develop discussion prompts, and plan for feedback and implementation. Articulate the goals and purpose of the discussion. Help students understand the purpose and intended outcomes of the assigned discussion. Be explicit with how the discussion will contribute to students' learning. Communicate your expectations. Specify what you expect from students' contributions. Model what a substantive response might look like. Be sure to make it clear to students how often you expect them to post and how many replies they should offer to other students' posts. If you intend to assess students' contributions to the discussion, share the criteria you will use to assess their participation. Discussion tip: guidelines for asynchronous discussions. Establish discussion guidelines as a way to communicate expected behaviors and etiquette to students. Invite students to revise, contribute to, or co-construct these guidelines. This will help encourage students' ownership of the guidelines. Set the tone for discussion. It's important to set the tone and class norms for discussion early on. You might ask students to respond to an initial discussion thread from the start of the course. Invite them to introduce themselves to their peers with text, photos, audio, or video. This will help set the tone early on, as well as help familiarize students with the tool itself. Discussion tip: break the ice. Icebreakers are another great way to get students actively engaging in discussion early in the semester. Determine your presence. Make your role and the role of your TAs, if applicable, explicit to students. Let students know what they can expect of your presence, reinforcement of the discussion guidelines, and receipt of feedback. Manage the discussion and intervene only when necessary. Actively guide the discussion to make it easy for students to do most of the posting and responding. This might include modeling contributions, asking follow-up questions, giving timely feedback, and affirming student contributions. Discussion tip: make the class feel small. Consider leveraging group discussions on CourseWorks to foster student connection and allow for more substantive or deeper conversations than a whole class discussion board might. Develop discussion prompts. The questions you ask and how you ask them are important for leading an effective discussion. Draft open-ended questions that advance student learning and inspire a range of answers, and avoid closed-ended, vague, or leading questions. Vary question complexity over the course of a discussion. If there's one right answer, ask students about their process to get to that right answer. Discussion tip: ask students to take the lead. Asking students to generate discussion prompts is a great way to engage them in their learning. Invite students to post open-ended or thought-provoking questions to launch discussion or connect to course material, and encourage them to respond to each other and build upon their peers' responses. You can also assign students specific roles and tasks for the discussion. Plan for feedback and implementation. Be sure to save time for reflection and feedback. Reflect on your own perspective of how the discussion went. What worked, and what might you want to change? Collect feedback from your students about how discussions are working and what they would like to see. Once you've had a chance to reflect and review student feedback, make a plan to implement some of those identified changes and share that plan with your students. Discussion tip: closing reflections. Create opportunities for your students to reflect on the discussion. You might consider asking students to not only reflect on what they learned from the discussion, but to also summarize key ideas or insights and pose new questions to prompt further discussion. Familiarize yourself with the CourseWorks Discussion Tool. CourseWorks Discussion is a great tool to help facilitate asynchronous discussions. You can create different types of discussions, either focused or threaded. The type you choose will depend on your goals and expectations for class discussion. Focused discussions permit only one layer of replies to a response, whereas threaded discussions allow infinite layers of replies to each student's response. Focused discussions are the CourseWorks default. They are best if you're looking for single responses with very little to no dialogue between students. Threaded discussions allow students to reply back and forth to each other in ongoing discussions. Threaded discussions encourage students to come back and refine their thoughts in a community setting. You can make a threaded discussion by checking the Allow Threaded Replies box in the options when creating or editing a discussion. Discussion tip: encourage student engagement. In CourseWorks, you can require that students post their own initial response before seeing and responding to their classmates' responses. You can also allow students to like posts on a discussion board. This can be a great way to build community among students and encourage engagement with each other's responses. It can also allow you to gauge student interest in particular topics or identify points of confusion. In CourseWorks, you can assign graded discussion posts. If you intend to grade and assess students' contributions, be sure to provide explicit guidelines and criteria for contributions. For more information on learning through discussion, please visit the Center for Teaching and Learning's Learning Through Synchronous and Asynchronous Discussion resource page, shown here. Explore the Canvas instructor guides to learn more about the discussion tool in CourseWorks. This concludes the video on learning through asynchronous discussion. In this video, we have addressed the why of asynchronous discussion, identified strategies for promoting learning through asynchronous discussion, and explored the CourseWorks Discussion Tool. For synchronous discussion tips, watch the Learning Through Synchronous Discussion video and explore the on-demand Learning Through Synchronous and Asynchronous Discussion resource available on the CTL website. For technical support using CourseWorks and other university support tools, contact CUIT. For teaching and learning support using CourseWorks, contact the CTL.